Hey everyone, and welcome to another 5 Minutes with. I am your host, Natalie Bencivenga, and today I have a wonderful guest. I'm so excited to introduce everyone to Teresa Leatherow. She is the executive director of TiE Pittsburgh and one of the youngest executive directors in Pittsburgh. Teresa, thank you so much for joining me.
Natalie, the pleasure is mine. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited for everyone to learn a little bit about you. I find you to be so inspiring. So tell us a little bit about how you landed at TiE Pittsburgh at only 24 years old as the executive director.
Yes, thank you, Natalie. So I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, went to the University of Pittsburgh, and now work obviously in Pittsburgh. And, throughout my life, I always thought, I'm going to go to a much larger city, New York or an SF. And every time Pittsburgh has proven to me that this is exactly where I'm meant to be. When I was at Pitt, I was very active in our honors college and studied business and engineering, and then started in my full-time role at a company called Numo, which is a fintech incubator at PNC, and now as an ED for TiE Pittsburgh. Throughout all of my experiences in Pittsburgh, the entrepreneurial community and this concept of networking and mentoring have been really core to me and my personal and professional development. It was actually through a dear friend and mentor of mine, Chris Millard, that I learned about TiE, that I became familiar with the opportunity to serve TiE in this role, and ultimately was able to be in this position.
So let's talk a little bit about TiE in general. So TiE is actually a global mentor and networking community. So can you talk a little bit about the
Right.
specific chapter and some of the things that people could get involved with this nonprofit?
For sure. So as you correctly mentioned, TiE is a global nonprofit organization. It's very heavily focused in the United States, of course, in India, all across the world. And the TiE Pittsburgh chapter specifically focuses on the Pittsburgh entrepreneurial community in sort of, four different areas: the networking and mentoring pieces, and of course, events and programs. So we look to offer our members a fairly holistic membership approach to mentoring, to access to certain individuals who have had entrepreneurial success, and to programs and industries that are sort of hot buttons here in Pittsburgh. So it certainly is the go-to organization when you're looking to have value as a member, to contribute and to participate, but also to be a beneficiary. So I haven't seen that in a lot of different orgs that have an entrepreneurial focus in Pittsburgh. And of course, TiE is a large part of what's fueling the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Pittsburgh.
That's amazing. So I have to ask, you're 24 years old, you're a young woman, you've only been out of college a few years. This is such a big opportunity to get to undertake. Can you talk a little bit about what motivated you to apply for such an ambitious role, and what is it like for you being a woman in STEM?
For sure. So maybe naivety, maybe I haven't seen enough of the world yet, Natalie, to know, to kind of take a more calculated approach in this sense. Nonprofit board expertise and roles has been something from a very service-oriented background that I have, that I've always aspired to. And, to be very honest and to be transparent, it isn't something that I even thought was in the cards until like at least 30. And so that being said, I'm just as shocked as probably some viewing this to be in this position, but absolutely flattered and absolutely blessed. I think that these types of roles are something that we need to kind of take the shock factor away from for someone younger being in. I think there's a lot of vision that can come from a younger person that may think differently about how to approach the programming aspects, the membership aspects, and to just really be inclusive. I think that's something that young people often feel is they are told to get experience, but in order to get experience, you need to have 5 to 10 years of experience. And it's definitely sort of a double whammy, because how do you get experience if someone's not willing to take a chance on you? I, encourage and think that there are a lot of ways for young people to get experience, but they're going to have to take what I will call unconventional or non-traditional routes to doing so. And so I've been very fortunate in my life to have mentors and people in my life that have paved the path before me, both women and men, who have really taken the time to help and to educate. And, simply I wish to do the same, to pay it forward in this role, and to not only, be an example of the possibility of a younger person in an ED role, but to normalize it. Because if we don't, I think that we're going to see a lot more well, I have to wait. And if we're going to live our lives like a big checklist and, check this off when we think that it's an appropriate time or, a prepared time, we'll miss our opportunity. And so, this definitely wasn't something I went into 2021 thinking, what I'm going to do this year, I'm going to become an ED of a nonprofit organization. But, it's an opportunity that in a position that I'm finding myself, energized by, enthusiastic about. I've met wonderful people like yourself, Natalie, and others who have really taken hold of the opportunity and are looking really to make great impacts.
No, absolutely. And I think all of your thoughts were so sound and founded just in this moment of reality. And I think if the pandemic has taught us anything, it really is why not? Like why
Right.
it's like
Right.
the world kind of turned itself upside down. And so why not take a chance? Why not put yourself out there? Why not try to have a new experience? The worst thing you'll hear is no. And I often hear when I think of no in the business world, I just think try again later. So
Absolutely.
I think it's
Absolutely.
really great that you took that risk and you're trying to make broad changes to the organization in positive ways and create that sense of inclusiveness in the work being done. So when you look at the broader ecosystem of Pittsburgh in the world of entrepreneurship, what do you see in terms of what needs to happen to help propel Pittsburgh onto that international scene moving forward as a hub for entrepreneurs, not just in tech, but in general?
For sure. It's such a funny question. It brings me back to my college days and sitting in an engineering classroom with a few friends that we'd always speculate, Pittsburgh is the next Silicon Valley, hands down. We didn't think twice about it. And, being from Pittsburgh, it was kind of funny to me because, I thought, oh, well, I love Pittsburgh and that's awesome. But as someone who, like I said, was so gung ho about being anywhere but Pittsburgh, it was really like, okay, well, everyone's saying that we should stay here and this is where we should be. And so I think a few things about the Pittsburgh ecosystem. One thing I think is an important distinction is that entrepreneurship is not synonymous with technologist. I think we exclude a large number of people and entrepreneurs and innovators who aren't necessarily in a traditional technology space, but may be contributing to a field that is technological in its nature. So when people say healthcare, financial services, autonomous vehicles, AI, robotics, I mean, seriously, insert any buzzword industry and you'll find, several startups related to that in the Pittsburgh area. I think what will define Pittsburgh's ability to really succeed and find its place on this stage, if you will, is what's always put Pittsburgh on the stage. And that's our connectivity to one another. And I think that is going to really, again, be what bolsters our success and make Pittsburgh the place that it is in so many ways already for innovators and founders to come to, not only develop their businesses, but, develop their lives, meet their friends, start their families, develop themselves personally, which is even probably more important than the professional aspect when you think about how much of the time we spend working. I'm new to the working world, but I've quickly learned that it is really easy to allow your life and your time just to be absorbed. But it's not a bad thing if you love what you do. But we need to make it an environment where people can love what they do and where achieving their dreams, frankly, is feasible.
That's wonderful, Teresa. What a excellent note to end on. So I just want to thank you so much for taking time with me. I'm so happy for you in your new role with TiE Pittsburgh. I'm so excited to see all of the wonderful things that you're going to implement and bring to the forefront in this city. So thank you so much for spending 5 minutes with me.
Thanks, Natalie.